Means I have the honor of giving a voice to the living earth, forests, rivers, oceans, air, and millions of beings who cannot speak for themselves. I help them speak against those who have plundered our planet's wealth with reckless abandon, leaving behind poisoned waters, scarred landscapes, and violated ecosystems. The case before us is not just about mining. It is about the fundamental right of nature to exist, regenerate, and thrive. We convene here today just as PDAC, the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada, is poised to hold its annual convention next week. Up to 30,000 attendees from over 135 countries will descend on this city, eager to find more opportunities to profit from the destruction of the planet. Honorable judges, one really has to see it to believe it. The way these people revel orgiastically in the devastation of the earth and the suffering of local indigenous communities. One law firm specializing in mining law is advertising a session next week entitled Caliente Caliente, Latin American mining is heating up, ! The invitation for this event states that the mining party is starting again in Latin America. Come to the 15th annual FASCN Latin American Mining Panel of Experts as we dance to the Latin beat through the various regulatory issues affecting the region. We're here today in the same city that hosts this, the world's largest mining party, in the same country that hosts the majority of the world's mining companies, to shine a light on what they would rather we didn't see. We're here to expose the crimes of these companies and the failures of the government that is meant to regulate them. For too long, the Canadian mining industry, backed by Canada and other complicit governments, has treated the earth as an infinite resource, a mere commodity for profit. Today you'll hear evidence of the impact of Canadian extractive companies from witnesses and experts from communities around the world. They'll present evidence that Canadian mining corporations have stripped vast territories bare, poisoned indigenous lands, and driven ecosystems to collapse. The extraction of minerals and metals has not only devastated sacred lands, but has contributed to climate breakdown, biodiversity loss, and the displacement of communities whose lives are intertwined with the health of these ecosystems. You'll hear about the Belo Sun Mining Corporation, headquartered in Toronto, whose Volta Grande open-pit gold mine along the Xingu River in Brazil threatens to devastate one of the most biodiverse regions on our planet, endangering indigenous communities and countless species. You'll hear about an environmental disaster that occurred in September 2015 at the Veladero mine in San Juan, Argentina, owned by Toronto-based Barrick Gold Corporation. Over 1 million liters of cyanide solution leaked into nearby rivers due to a valve failure. The incident, considered the largest mining spill in Argentina's history, highlights the severe environmental and social consequences of inadequate oversight and corporate negligence. You'll hear about yet another Toronto-based company, Aclara Resources, that is advancing the Penco project in Chile's Biobío region in Chile. This initiative aims to extract heavy rare earth elements from ionic clay deposits across more than 600 hectares. Local communities and environmental organizations have voiced opposition, citing potential threats to biodiversity, water resources, and the livelihoods of indigenous populations. Canadian mining companies have also been instrumental in the rapid expansion of lithium mining. You'll hear about the impacts of Canadian lithium mining, both in Argentina and right here in Canada. Lithium mining consumes vast amounts of water, leading to the depletion of freshwater resources essential for local communities and ecosystems. Indigenous populations who have stewarded these lands for generations face threats to their cultural heritage and livelihoods due to the environmental impacts of lithium mining. We will also hear from witnesses from Ecuador, where several cases highlight the adverse impacts of Canadian mining interests. These impacts are only set to increase as the newly negotiated free trade agreement between Canada and Ecuador, which we'll also hear about, goes into effect. The mining party in Latin America is indeed starting again. But it's not only companies, but also the governments that permit and enable these violations that must be held accountable. Canada prides itself on environmental stewardship, yet it continues to export destruction worldwide. This tribunal will hear testimony from those whose voices have been ignored in the halls of powers in Canada. And all this happens within the broader context of a global neoliberal economic order that is designed to be open to the free flow of capital and multinational business across borders, but closed to regulation and legal accountability following them across those same borders. It's a system of rules erected in the service of global capital that facilitates the ability of multinational business to plunder and destroy, and at the same time impedes the ability of governments to regulate these businesses or hold them accountable. Today, this system of global capitalism is also on trial. Today, all the actors that commit these violations and the institutions that permit and enable them will be held accountable. They have chosen profit over the planet, short-term wealth over long-term survival. They have failed in their duty as stewards of the land, disregarding indigenous sovereignty, international law, and the rights of nature itself. Today, we expose this complicity and demand justice, not only for the people affected, but for the earth itself. With the tribunal's permission, I'd like to present the first case on the Belo Sun gold mine in Xingu Territory, Brazil. And I'd like to call the witnesses in this case who will testify jointly, Analaiji Suarez Barbosa and Verena Glass de Aguiar Magano.